Creation's Journey to Life. Day 26. Gray Matter Invasion. Earth Occupied. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the invasion of gray matter to control real matter would devastate life on Earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not take my head filled with gray matter between my hands daily to remind me that the gray matter is not me, but the body is me. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the me created by the gray matter is my version of reality, where I exist alone, as all knowing, without anyone else seeing what I do in this small space of gray matter. And I also do not know what anyone else is really doing with their gray matter. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the me that is created by the gray matter uses gray areas to so give itself power through opinion, free choice, and misrepresenting it as a human that has rights, while the rights of the real humans are being violated with starvation, poverty, war, incarceration, and torture, to keep the real me a slave to the gray matter. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to see that the gray matter invented all kinds of conspiracies, religions, and invisible spirits to make it look more than real matter, while the product of the gray matter is just a con called consciousness that is subject to real matter. I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to have refused to realize that the gray matter will not function unless the real matter is allowed to provide energy and breath to it, just like an unimportant slave. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to have refused to realize that the gray matter does not care about the life of the slave, as the gray matter deified knowledge and the energies that it created as emotions and feelings, making its illusion extend beyond death through memories and the written word. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to realize that the gray matter created a world system that supports and honors the creation of the gray matter, while the real matter is treated as nothing but slaves in every way. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed the gray matter to become accepted as the false image, representing life in spite of the evidence that gray matter is just keeping the masses in a gray area of uncertainty, while gray matter controls black and white as clear, direct management of resources in the world only to the benefit of gray matter, to keep the real matter under control and in fear induced by the gray matter. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed gray matter to create money, to represent value, to only serve that which gray matter like and desires, like entertainment, desires, lust, power, control, greed, competition, happiness, while the real matter suffers as a slave without any right. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed gray matter to create the illusion that the human is irrational and must be controlled, while the real human as body is suppressed from birth to become virtually a machine slave serving the gray matter only. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to realize that gray matter created the illusion that all matter cannot be understood, only creations of the gray matter can be understood, and are the only studies that are beneficial. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to realize that gray matter made sure that each personality representing gray matter will act like a policeman to make sure no human escapes, and that gray matter will be always everywhere to ensure its control of the human race. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to see that thinking, fear, anxiety, feelings, and emotions and energy entities as personality are confirmation of gray matter in control and the human as slave. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to have refused to see that gray matter is limited to the area inside the head, while the human is in fact part of the universe and that planet, and always return home, while gray matter ends when the host as the body ends. Gray matter, thus, must have opportunity to clone its consciousness into the children to ensure its continued existence. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to have refused to see that gray matter is, by its very nature, distrustful, jealous, envious, mean, and greedy, and therefore will only cooperate with another member of the gray matter race if its individual self-interest is served, with some reward certain due to the cooperation. Therefore, gray matter can never accept equality or equal coexistence as life, as it is by its very nature not life. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to realize that gray matter used the matter of chance to emphasize its addiction to high energy experiences, while real matter is based on real matters that are measurable, consistent, and worthy. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to realize that gray matter is alien to the Earth environment as an invader species that only destroys habitats in its frenzy to satisfy its insatiable nature to consume no matter what. Are you human or gray matter? I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that gray matter controlled machines to compete with the human, with the machine moving more effective, efficient, and trustworthy than the human infected with gray matter, to continuously remind the human that it is less than the gray matter and must accept its fate. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to see that gray matter developed science and education to only satisfy the desires of gray matter while leaving anything that may cause the real human to wake up and reach its full potential to the realm of illusion. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to refuse to see that gray matter treats any other's living being born of the living planet Earth with the same disregard as it treats the human body, as the true human nature, as the gray matter, does not grasp life as it is not born as life. It is created with a central dictatorship it calls the brain of the system, but wherein imposes authority through fear, projected images, information control, addiction, and control of essential resources that sustains life so that the human ends up accepting the thoughts and images projected as itself. The gray matter only understands fear, torture, greed, abuse, control, deception, dishonesty, and does not understand the principle of the human body, which is equality. As the human body functions as individual parts working together as equals, so to give to the body its nature and abilities. The only part that is able to be infected by the alien invader is the brain, and from there it rules and destroys as it has always done throughout the universe. I commit myself to expose the alien invasion of Earth by gray matter by pointing out the destruction gray matter causes globally while disregarding life in every way. I commit myself to show the nature of gray matter and how to remove the alien parasite that each human can return to its true nature as life, as equality. I commit myself to demonstrate all the weakness of the gray matter and to show how easy it really is for the human to rid itself of the gray matter energy parasite. I commit myself to show that choice deprived by gray matter only serves gray matter, and choice as real matter will serve real matter, and thus life as real matter is life, here, waiting to be awakened at last. I commit myself to bring the awareness that the living parts of the human body do not require religion or beliefs to work together as one. It functions as one as it understands that is the nature of life, and that the nature of life, and thus the nature of the human, is equality as demonstrated in every breath here on earth. I commit myself to show that the human does not need the gray matter to be the matter, as mastery already exists as the human body, as it masters its equality with its environment, and that the human, freed from the gray matter parasite, will coexist in peace and harmony without masters or kings or dictator or know-it-alls. I commit myself to show that there are certain things that humans can learn from the gray matter and apply and use to make the human experience exceptional for all life. I commit myself to show that the nature of equality as what is best for all life would serve each human best in every way and make it impossible for the gray matter to exist at all. I commit myself to show that the accepted personality projections called humans are not human. It is the illusions gray matter project to keep the human entranced and hypnotized for its own evil purposes. I commit myself to show that money can be used according to human nature as an equal tool to manage excellence in the human experience. I commit myself to show that the human without the gray matter is a peaceful, happy life form that finds great joy in living and each other. I commit myself to show that all matter can be understood and that the knowledge of gray matter is extremely limited and in many cases fake and useless. I commit myself to show that life does not require policing as life supports life. Only that which is not life, and that acts like masters without slaves, requires policing to keep control. I commit myself to bring an end to slavery to the gray matter so that life can return to Earth in all its splendor. I commit myself to show how gray matter clones itself generation after generation as its children to ensure its existence and dominance over life. I commit myself to demonstrate that all definitions and actions of self-interest and inequality is that of gray matter and not of life. I commit myself to show that real maths always leads to equality in real matter expressed as what is best for all life. I commit myself to show that gray matter is an alien invader that cannot coexist with life, as it is not life and thus not equal. I commit myself to demonstrate that machines are in fact constructed from life as the planet, and thus are here to support life and not the self-interest of gray matter. I commit myself to show that real science is about understanding real matter and the relationships of real matter to support what is best for all life. I commit myself to end the dictatorship of gray matter so that all living beings on Earth can be free. I commit myself to show that any system that functions around control without a regard for equality is in fact a dictatorship. Who am I? Gray matter or human?